Well, guys, we lost another one of the great ones. Joe Kubert has passed away. I came home, popped on Facebook, and Kurt Busiek had posted on Facebook, rest in peace, Joe Kubert. So, I tell you what, this is going to be a real brief and non-thorough celebration of the man's legacy, because there just isn't time, space, or anything to say what all the man did. Okay? And the man, when is he born? Let's take a look. He was born on September 18th, 1926, passed away August 12th, 2012, the day of this video. And he's famous for Hawkman, and he's famous for Sergeant Rock, and believe it or not, that stuff is not the stuff that I really hold dear that Kubert had worked on. He also founded the Kubert School of of art and illustration. That's got quite an alumni. Carl Kessel, Rick Vetch, tons of people. So with that said, from what I remember, Kubert got his first published work when he was around 11 or 12, and it was on a graphic novel. I think it was in 1938. He moved on and he worked between DC Comics and I think All American Comics in the 40s. He attended an art school in New York when he was really young, and he and another gentleman would skip class to go talk to publishers. He hit, I think, Hawkman in 1945, and that's what he did on that. Just blew everybody away when you consider these were kids coming out of the Depression. He was also an immigrant. When he was 2 months old, his parents were Jewish descent, and I believe they came over here from Poland. Around 1953, not to be skipping around or anything like that, Kubert created a tour in 1953. Now, he also ended up coloring reprints of The Spirit for that was in Sunday's Funnies back then. In 1955, he started doing Sergeant Rock and just hit all those war comics. He created the Viking Prince, who, even though the Viking Prince is not heralded or anything like that, but that had just a romantic flair to it, a boy's fiction that was just phenomenal. And Kubert went on from there and everything like that. And Kubert was always a driving force. His style, considering that his first published work was before he was when he was a preteen. The man had worked in comics from the time Superman was created up until today. And stayed relevant in his style. He just bettered himself constantly, man. He had a style of a deceptive simplicity. He understood the line of the ink brush. I'm by far not the Kubert expert here, but I'll put his stuff beside anybody else's. Now, Tor, what is amazing and stayed relevant is that he worked on Tor off and on from 1953 to 2008 with various companies, DC, and he did a little bit of Epic in 2001. And his the man, considering that he is considered a golden age artist that stayed relevant, some of his writing style was surprisingly edgy. I mean, this man had a timeless way of drawing things, and he really had a thing about keeping it clean, because I do remember him talking about going back to Sergeant Rock in the early 2000s and asking, I think, Brian Azzarello to make sure the language was kept clean, because he realizes his family will be reading this stuff after he's gone. Okay? So while we have people like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby who are remembered for their superhero stuff, and we got Steve Ditko remembered for his Spider-Man, The Question, The Blue Beetle, Mr. A, and all this stuff. To me, Kubert is best remembered for what he did outside the superhero genre, and it was eloquent, and it was professional, and it's actually got like a timeless quality to it. Tor was a caveman, and it's almost like Kubert was able to wrap his head around boys' fantasy, that genre of boys' fantasy of cavemen and of princes and Vikings, like I said, and war comics and stuff. And he wrote in a way to where it wasn't a comic book style of writing so much to say that these were character driven. He found the drama in tribes and superstitions and caveman. And Thor, to me, was a hero not because of anything valiant that he ever did. It was because of he was going to save a female from a bunch of other cavemen who were cannibals or, you know, whatever they were going to do to her. He had to fight that caveman instinct of self-preservation, not putting yourself in danger. It was to survive and not to be hurt, you know, in the times that he was in, you know, 100,000 years ago or whatever it was, that, you know, he had to go against that. You know, there was no blueprint on how to be a hero. There was no PBS shows showing you how to be selfless, you know, and things like that. So that's why Thor was a hero. And I always found it, you know, amazing that he was able to show you what the times were by the fact that Thor was able to do some original thinking here. He figured out to cut his bangs off so he could see better and hunt better. You know, and that's what made Thor stand out. And you know, like I said, he started in 1953, and he worked on it all the way up until, off and on over the years, up until 2008. And when his stuff came out, you know, we're in the time of the super artists. You know, our Jim Lees, our George Perez, every one of them, you know, deserve what they get. Our Alex Ross. But the drama that he put into his stuff just blew you away. The organic fluidity and compositions and emotion that he put into this stuff. You know, you saw, you know, he just got better and better over the years. Okay. And like I said, he continued to stay relevant when back in 2010 he was still putting out works. This is the Legacies miniseries, and they brought in Kubert to do some backup stories in one of these. There's the War Heroes he's you know, kind of famous for in a bunch of those. And Sergeant Rock in the middle, and the Losers, and Gunner and Sarge. Okay. And they brought him back again, telling the story of the Legacies. You know, Hawkman front and center. You know, when you're a Kubert fan, you realize that's why, you know, this cover that Andy Kubert and Joe Kubert did together, you know, Hawkman's front and center because that was, you know, Kubert's character, DC character. And of course, Andy Kubert did the pencils in this, but Joe Kubert did the inks. And it's all Joe. He's famous for working on the 7 Soldiers of Victory for All American Comics in the 40s. And then here it is, you know, 70 years later, and he's still drawing them. He outlived them all, you know. And what a legacy. And then I come up to one of my favorite comics of all time, one of my most cherished comics. My top 10 video I did over a year ago and stuff. You know, he had the #2 comic that was on there for me, and not being a huge Joe Kubert fan. It was his Tarzan. He had some sort of office job with DC in the 60s up in the early 70s, and I actually believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that he had a hand in getting the Edgar Rice Burroughs Foundation to let them do the Tarzan books. Gold Key was doing them and had been doing them, so when Tarzan took off, they just continued the numbering from Gold Key Comics 207. And Kubert, let's make this about Kubert. You've seen enough of my face. And Kubert went through and read the books and translated the books into comic book form. Now 2 of those. And he wrote to me what could be the purest Tarzan adaptions ever. Kubert wasn't trying to write Joe Kubert's Tarzan. He wasn't trying to write DC's Tarzan. Look at that. Savage. Brutal. He was writing Tarzan. And then it, you know, I mean, just look at his work here. He brought in Korak. they ended up expanding the Tarzan line because of what Kubert had done. Son of Tarzan. And to me, this is the stuff that today's comic book artists need to be reading on how to do storytelling and communicating in a panel. The psychology of art. Kubert was more or less a student of comics while he was helping making up the rules. Weird war tales, you know. He also did Rima covers. And Rima has a little bit of a cult following. Man, it's just amazing. And the fact that the man started this school that he did that, and the school had such a it has a 30% dropout rate for anybody that goes to his school. It's rigorous and they work, and he made professionals. And there's just tons of people came out of that school. Carl Kessel, Rick Veitch, Steve Bissett. I know there's many, many more. See if I can find some. I actually marked a few people. Yeah, I mean, I'll just name off the people here. For you guys that don't know, Steve Bissett, artist on Swamp Thing during Alan Moore's run. Shane Davis, artist of Batman, Mystery in Space, Superman, Batman. Kim DeMolder, inker on Swamp Thing and many other things. Dave Dorman, Star Wars artist. Let's see who else we got here. Like I said, Carl Kessel. Scott Collins, penciler of Flash and beyond. His sons. Steve Lieber, Eisner Award-winning artist on Whiteout Melt. Alex Maleev, artist on Daredevil. Tom Mandrick, artist on Batman and the Punisher. Bill Pressing, storyboard artist for the Venture Brothers. And he worked with Tom Rainey, artist on Thor, Stormwatch, and Ultimate X-Men. I'm trying to find the guy that he did that. Here he is. Oh, lost him. Where's he go? But there's a man that storyboards and I believe created SpongeBob SquarePants. Actually went to his school. Tim Truman went. Tom Yeats went. Let me find the guy that it's killing me. But the guy who works on SpongeBob SquarePants. That just cracked me up when I read that. Yeah, several animators. Here it is. Sherm Cohen, storyboard artist, writer, and director on SpongeBob SquarePants. Attended from 83 to 85. So basically, just wanted to announce that he's passed and he's made a great legacy. And I got to tell you, man, two things I want to say. Marvel got Tarzan after Kubert. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, man, as I'm a Roy Thomas fan, I'm a John Buscema fan, but when it comes to this book, I will put Tarzan by Kubert over Marvel's Tarzan, because I just felt like Kubert wrote Tarzan. Marvel wrote Marvel's Tarzan. It's not that they lost focus, they lost direction, and Kubert kept the vision clear, And I'm just kind of glad to say that. Here it is, 2012, and a week and a half ago, Night Owl #2 came out. The man went out working with his son on a book. So, thanks for everything, Joe, and, Godspeed to his family. So, let's remember Joe Kubert, guys.